You are so oppressive.
And welcome to the Midday Show. I am Jeff Everett. He is Marcos.
He is sinking.
I am sinking. Kind of like a sporadic show today. We're going to talk a little bit about a basketball game at Lycoming College, but there's a whole story behind it that is fascinating. We wanted to touch on, we talked yesterday about the Let's Go Brandon chants.
There's more.
There's more.
And it's getting even better.
It is getting better. So we want to talk about that as well. And then I want to break down the 13-month calendar. I want to present it to you today. I want to give you the opportunity you can join the cause or you can shun it once and for all. But I'm going to present the 13-month calendar to Mark here at the end of the show. Before we get to all of that, how are you feeling today?
You know, I have a headache today, and I never get headaches.
Okay.
Because I had one of those, bad adult Thursday nights. Thursday night was like I left here and things were great.
Okay.
And then they just gradually got worse on multiple fronts. And so I'm ready to get through, and I've had a really busy morning, but it's like been a good busy this morning. It's, life busy. And then I have a busy afternoon, and when I get to the football game, and then I'm just going to go home and I'm going to lay in bed and I'm going to be very happy that, I thank God yesterday was Thursday and it wasn't like Tuesday.
Right. I'm struggle busing today. This is going to be a weird one because you've got a headache. I'm struggle busing a little bit. I got my booster yesterday. I was fine throughout the day. Around 3 a.m. this morning, I was hurting. Very similar to when I got the first 2 shots.
Arm sore hurting or body?
Hurting? My arm's sore, but that part doesn't. It's like this internal stiffness, my body cannot relax, and then it's sore, and it's a different. I was talking to Carrie about it this morning. It's just a different kind of sick. I've never felt the way I felt after these 3 shots.
Now, one of the things to violate all HIPAA laws, you have Lyme's.
Yes.
So you don't know if that matters or not.
Yeah. One doctor that I spoke to said that they think that affects it. They think that's why I get so stiff and so sore. They think it might have something to do with the Lyme's disease and reacting to that. But it's not a sore throat. It's not a cough or a fever or sweats, or it is just this internal stiffness every time I get these shots. And it only lasts for 24 hours. It doesn't last long, but it is. So I'm happy I went. I got it done. Shout out to the people at the medical center. They were fantastic.
Did you cry?
I didn't cry. Shots still, as long as I don't see it,
That's
good.
what I am.
Yeah. So I have to I turn and I look away and I talk.
The cell phone has been the greatest thing for me.
Okay.
I should say the smartphone.
Yeah.
Because as long as I have something to read and occupy my time on, I'm okay.
Okay.
I hear that there's going to be a slight pinch.
Yeah.
And there is.
Yeah.
And then I'm good.
Yeah. So it is. I am. I had a couple of people ask me, because I'm curious, kind of your take on this. I had a couple of people ask me. For those people who don't know, my mom is immunocompromised right now. So for me getting the shots, I had gotten them significantly sooner than I probably was supposed to. I remember when I got my first 2 shots, I don't want to say I snuck in. But I certainly was not of the level. Remember, they had
the age group thing.
They had the age group things, and then they had there was group 1, group 1B,
risk
whatever.
Factor people.
Yes. So even though now I do have Lyme's and I do have mitral valve prolapse, so technically by medical standards you could sell that I'm immunocompromised, but I'm significantly better off than people who are truly really immunocompromised. I think it's a slap in the face for me to say that I'm immunocompromised to the people that actually are.
Right.
But I am getting this shot and getting the booster. And I said it to Carrie because I had a couple of people did you get the booster for your mom? And I think I did. I think that was a big part of it. But I also think too, I don't know how much the booster will actually help. Even because you know me, I dive into stuff before I decide what I'm going to do. I don't know how much the booster will help, but the one thing, like reading through all of it and everything else, is like I just don't think it's going to hurt. And so I was scheduled to do it. I was fortunate enough, like my 8 months came up before most people to get the booster. So I was like, I'm going to get it done, because at the end of the day, if it works, fantastic. And if it doesn't, it's just everything that I've read, everything that I've researched, it's not going to hurt me.
Well, that's the thing. And I wonder, from my aspect, since I had COVID and then got immunized.
Yeah.
Do I, because I'm, have the natural immunities, and
Sure.
it's in the great discussion of this.
Yeah.
I just had my son for his annual checkup at the pediatrician as a 15-year-old, and we were talking because my son is vaccinated, and I was explaining to the pediatrician that I had it, and then I got it. He was like, "Oh, you are like Superman."
Right.
So he was like, with the natural antibodies, you probably don't need a booster shot. And then we discussed about like the long term and that people's bodies need to build up some sort of immunization or natural antibodies some way or the other. Do we keep it's an interesting discussion. He was discussing, he's like, if you have a healthy 15-year-old, I don't know if I would get a booster.
Sure.
Because if he gets it, it probably won't affect him.
Right.
Statistically speaking.
Right.
And then he will so he's like, in a crazy way, you probably want him to get it. He might not even know he had it.
Sure.
Because the young, healthy people, it doesn't affect.
Yeah.
But there are always those people that it does affect.
Right.
And that's the scary part of what COVID is. But so anyway.
The last part that I want to add to it,
So just to cover, I come in and I have a headache, and you have to one up my story.
It's just bad luck for you. The last thing that I do want to mention, I'm 3 shots into this. So I'm double Moderna and then a Moderna booster. So I have gotten 3 shots in total. The thing that I like, as I was walking out and I was thinking about it yesterday, the thing that I am very grateful for, though, is that it was my choice. And we're in agreement on the mandate. Yes. And I just want to, I don't take a lot of firm stands, especially like when we're talking. I really don't. Unless it's a 13-month calendar, then I take
with that. Then you are rock solid, baby.
But I do want to say, like, just because of like with work and with family and everything else, I have not been mandated to do any of this. This has been on like my own free will and my free accord. I believe it is beneficial to me. I feel very fortunate that I myself got to make the choice and I was not forced to. I wish and I hope for everybody else that they had the same choices as me. I know that's not the case for everybody in the country, but I just personally want to say I feel very fortunate that it was my choice.
I think history will look back and say that the mandates were mishandled. And then there will always be speculation of what would have been better, how the message could have been sent better. But I don't think that history will look kindly on the mandates, but I could be wrong. We'll see.
It's going to be interesting. Do you want to do the Lycoming College story first?
Yeah. Let's save the 13-month calendar because I think we're going to have a national audience for Jeff's unveiling of the 13-month calendar.
100%. So Lycoming College, they're opening up their basketball season Saturday at 8:00. I believe it's called the Dutch Birch Tip-Off.
Tip-Off? Okay.
I believe is what it's called. Really fascinating story behind it. They are going to play the number 2 team in the country.
For Division 3. They're not playing Villanova.
No, they're not playing Villanova. Okay. But for Division 3, they're going to play the number 2 team in the country. That number 2 team in the country happens to be a Jewish university in the state of New York. I believe it's near New York City. I don't know the exact location of it, but I believe it's near New York City. They're going to play Yeshiva College, and they're number 2 in the country, a Jewish school. They have 2 All-Americans. One is 6'6", the other is 6'7". They had numerous Division I offers across the country, and they passed on them because they want to be rabbis. So this Jewish university, I guess, fell into, like, I don't know how else. I don't want to fell into 2 All-Americans, and they went 35-0 their last full season. I believe they're on a 40-plus game winning streak, and they are going to be playing in our backyard of Williamsport, Pennsylvania at Lycoming College this weekend.
Okay, so when we say like these, it's a school that trains rabbis. It is basically a biblical school, a Jewish biblical school. Not that they have the Quran, but they wear yarmulkes.
Yes.
They will be running up and down the floor with yarmulkes on.
Yes.
And for people that don't know, it's not like there's a clip. It clips to your hair. But there will be, as people have told, because they had this school like this. I know a guy who I'm Facebook friends with, a guy who was known as the Jewish Jordan, who went to a Talmudical Academy in Baltimore, same thing. And my guy who first saw this kid play, he's like, he goes to the hoop against his private school. He's scoring over some 6'6" black kid. There's a foul. They go to the ground. They get up. He picks up his yarmulke. He puts it back on, and he goes to the foul line. And that's how they play. So these kids are professional basketball candidates. Maybe they're not NBA candidates, but certainly in Europe, like these two from Yeshiva, it's probably Yeshiva. They're going to be playing pro. They will have the option to play pro basketball.
They are going to so there's two All-Americans. The one's name is Ryan Terrell. He is a 6'7" senior. He will definitely play professional basketball, whether it's overseas or kind of like in a minor league system. He is being looked at by the NBA. So certain scouts have already asked for film, came to practice, and will be at numerous games for him this year. There's the obvious.
So hold on, I need to cut in. There could be NBA scouts in Lamedy Gym.
Technically, yes. I don't know just because of the location of it, because here's the catch.
They play outside of New York City.
Exactly. So if I'm an NBA scout, I'm probably going to go see.
You're going to go see a Knicks game or a Nets game and then go over. That makes sense.
I would guess you're not going to come. However, there will be NBA scouts watching coming game footage because this kid is playing in this game and he is on their radar for it.
So because when you're an NBA exec, you're like, okay, this kid wants to be a rabbi. I'm guessing he's a good student and he's not a troublemaker. So we don't have to worry about his off the court. Their background check on this kid is going to take about 45 seconds.
It's not going to take very long. To go even a step further, there was an article released on ESPN this morning at 7 a.m. and it was about the university's basketball team because they have the longest win streak in college basketball right now. So they released a story at 7 a.m. In that story, they kind of give this Ryan Terrell's background. His mother, I told you before the show, his mom is in kinesiology. Am I saying that correctly? I can never say it correctly. She was in the background for Jane Fonda workout videos. She was one of the exercisers behind her. That was kind of what she did.
So was Terrell the guy that you said his dad was a low-level Division I point guard?
And then his dad was a low-level guard. He averaged.
Well, no wonder this kid's a super athlete.
Yeah.
Look at the breeding.
Yeah, no. So it's interesting. Now, mom and dad in the article, and you'll be able to dive into this whole parental aspect, they did not want him to go to Yeshiva College. They were hoping that he would take one of the offers, and here's why. They do not offer athletic scholarships because they are Division III school. In the article, it estimates that his parents are paying around $50,000 a year for him to go to Yeshiva College instead of taking a full ride to attend one of the major universities that offered him.
How much do rabbis make?
I don't know. I don't think it's how much rabbis make. It's that I don't think they have to spend a lot. Isn't that the assumption?
Or that could be.
But imagine,
here are your choices.
So little Jimmy,
hey, mom and dad, I can go for free. You can write a $50,000 check. I'm going with door number 2.
Yes.
That would be
annually, $50,000 annually.
Again. And you can do it again next year.
Yes, and the year after.
Yeah, that would be a sad.
Yeah.
Oh.
Really, really, really fast.
How many times do you think they looked at him and said, are you sure? Let's go visit these places again.
Yeah, so really interesting.
The joys of parenthood, right there. The joys.
And then the other one that's worth. Go ahead.
Oh, were you going to talk about Sweetney?
Yeah, go ahead. You can say it.
Well, I was going to say, when you told me this story, I'm going to say, you're not going to believe this. I said, I might know who the head coach is.
Yeah.
Because I have a friend in Baltimore who was an Orthodox Jew who coached the Jewish Jordan, Tamir Goodman, who now runs a basketball camp or whatever. Yep. Tamir ended up playing at Towson. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I know him. And I know that his kid is a basketball coach at a very successful Jewish Division III college.
Yeah.
So you pulled up the name of the head coach, and I'm like, nope, it's not him. And I was like, oh, this kid's name's Katz. And you're like, oh, he's an assistant.
Yeah.
So I know I've probably met the kid, except back then he was probably 5.
Sure.
But I know I'm texting his dad right when we're off the show.
Yeah, that'll be really, really good.
Because if his dad is making now his dad would be one that would be like, why would I go to Lycoming College when I could go to New York City?
Right.
So the odds of his dad coming here, but there's a chance.
It could happen.
And he would also make some joke like, I'm not coming to Central Pennsylvania with a yarmulke on because I won't be well received.
So there is, on this coaching staff, as I was looking up this name for you, one of the assistants is Michael Sweetney, who was an All-American in college. He played at Georgetown University, was the number 9 overall pick to the New York Knicks as well.
Now, I ask you this, though. I mean, as we thought about it, it was cool for a little while.
Yeah.
But what Division III college doesn't have a top 10 NBA pick on their staff?
Most of them.
You don't think? I thought everybody did.
No. So this is a good segue, because I don't know if I've ever told you the story. Have I ever told you the story about my assistant coach in college?
You did. He was super, but I don't
Did we talk about it on the air at all?
Let's put it this way. If I don't remember the details, neither did the listener.
Probably not. So my assistant coach at Lock Haven University,
Harlem Globetrotters?
He was one of the original Harlem Globetrotters.
Okay, I do remember that.
He got to go overseas. He got to do all this stuff. However, he ended up going to Anderson College because at that time, even though he was like Mr. Indiana basketball, Indiana University already had 2 people of color on their roster.
Right, they had filled up the quota.
So at that time, Indiana University would not take him on the roster. So instead, he went to Anderson College, led the nation in scoring twice, and there's now a statue of him outside of Anderson College. And he is considered one of the best high school and college basketball players ever out of the state of Indiana.
And he coached you at Lock Haven?
He was the assistant. His son was the head coach. He was the assistant coach.
What was his name?
Jumpin' Johnny Wilson. And
Okay.
if you go to Wikipedia, you can actually see the story and his page. And if you type in Jumpin' Johnny Wilson, Anderson College, you can see a statue and everything else.
I assume his kid was a pretty decent talent too.
Yeah, they had a grandson that was a really, really good athlete. Really good athlete.
So that coach's kid or another?
The head coach's son
Okay.
was a really good athlete. I believe the head coach was more of a baseball player. He played baseball in college and coached up basketball.
You know why?
Why?
Because you don't have to run so much playing baseball. If you can hit
so much truth
or
to
you
that.
can throw, it is a much lazier game, and you don't get nearly as tired.
It is unbelievable how much truth there is.
I'm not kidding. If you can hit, God, that is an easy living.
All right, let's go to the thank you, Brandon. So we had run us through kind of the conversation about Let's Go Brandon yesterday.
Well, at the NASCAR meet. Did I really just say that?
Yeah.
All right, I'm done speaking. Let's close the laptop. At the NASCAR race, when they were chanting F Joe Biden, the commentator, who we don't know, I initially thought that she was being brilliant and trying to protect the live broadcast on network television.
Right.
Said, oh, listen to them. They're chanting, let's go, Brandon. You don't know if I guess she hasn't made a statement whether she really knew what they were saying or not.
Yeah.
So there's debate. Maybe I was giving her too much credit, but anyway. And then it's kind of run so it's the PG version of saying F Joe Biden, because you can't say that in many circles. You can't print it in a lot of circles, but you can say let's go Brandon, and it kind of means the same thing. So as you talked about, it went to Twitter.
Yes.
And the left had gone, thanks, Joe Biden. And they were saying all these things that he had done that they were proud of so far in his presidency.
Yes.
And so the right came back with it and sarcastically said, thanks, Joe Biden.
No, thank you, Brandon. Sorry.
Brandon. Oh, yeah, it wasn't Brandon. Yes, thank you, Brandon.
Yes.
And so the right went with the sarcastic version. They're like, thanks for gas prices. Thanks for the smooth exit from Afghanistan. So now they're going back and forth, and I find it hysterical.
It is. So first of all, the thank you, Brandon thing was very clever by whoever decided to do that on the left. That was the perfect counter. That was a very good response to the let's go Brandon was the hashtag thank you, Brandon. However, whenever you're thinking of this stuff, you just never think of how it could be used against you.
The punch, counter punch has been really good.
So now I'm curious, like if you were a Democrat on Twitter and you see them trying to take the hashtag thank you Brandon and mock it and be sarcastic with it, what is is there a counter to the counter to the
I don't
counter?
know. I don't know.
How do
but
you
really,
combat this?
from a like good for you, very clever. I am proud of the Democrats for coming up with thank you, Brandon.
No.
And I am proud of the Republicans for coming up with their version of thank you, Brandon.
Yeah.
Like, this is really, really good stuff.
Really, really clever. And the best part, too, is the sarcastic tone to some of these are pretty great. And there's some people have taken it even a step further. So, like, there are centralists that are like, thank you, Brandon, and they're like thanking them for their Netflix and like different things that they have nothing to do with. It has nothing to do with anything. So now they're even getting in on kind of the joke and everything else. The other part of it too, because this Brandon thing has like taken a life of its own.
Oh yes.
It made me think of like we talked about Karen. So like there's this thing of like calm down, Karen.
Don't be a Karen.
Yes. Don't be a Karen. Calm down, Karen. All those things. And it just made me think about like once that name, like the name, like I could never name my kid Karen.
Oh, it won't happen.
I don't know if like now, like, can you name a kid Brandon now? Like,
I bet Republicans do.
You think so?
I think it's their battle cry. Right now, it's their battle cry.
You think
it'll change?
You think that there are Republicans that would name their kid Brandon?
I think so.
Huh. Interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way.
I think because we talked too about Felicia.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think that's a name that's like, by Felicia has killed it.
Are there any other names that you like think of that way? See, I can't there's some movies, but see, movies are different because like if you're just quoting a line, Glen Coco, you go Glen Coco.
I don't think anyone's naming their kid Glen Coco anymore.
Well, probably not. There's some lines with like the name Jeff in movies that I will have people say like, it was 21 Jump Street or 22 Jump Street, the remake.
Okay.
With Channing Tatum and
John
John
I didn't
Bell.
see him.
I
saw the first one.
There's a scene where they're like hollering for someone named Jeffrey, and it's funny. So like every so often, like I will have a kid like in the gym or something, like they'll say it the way they do in the movie and stuff like that. But that's different. Like you're just quoting a movie.
Vote for Pedro.
Pedro's good. Forgot about Vote for Pedro. That one's really good. I mean, this one's different. McLovin for a while was like...
Well, nobody's naming their kid McLovin anymore.
No one's naming their name McLovin, but there was this idea, like, to call someone a McLovin was, like, for a while, that was very... poignant isn't the word, but, like, you knew what you were... If someone called you a McLovin, you knew what they were saying.
It hurt.
Did it hurt?
It hit hard.
How many times did they call you a McLovin?
Never. I was too old for that at that point.
I hear you. Okay. Do you want to do the calendar?
I'm ready.
I'm excited for
I am excited. Listen, I've really thought... how is Jeff going to make a good case about this?
Let's do this real quick because this was good. Lisa said Heathers. Have you ever heard the Heathers one?
Have you seen the movie?
No.
You've never seen Heathers?
No, I've never seen Heathers.
I can't tell if you're kidding right now.
No, I've never seen Heathers.
Okay, so here's the issue. I would loan it to you. You would never watch it, never give it back.
Because I would just stream it instead. I need to watch Heathers is what you're saying.
Oh, it's so good. It is right up your alley.
I can do that. Lisa said Stella.
I don't know. Stella.
Like, is that a Stella Got Her Groove Back reference?
I've never seen Stella Got Her Groove Back.
Huh.
I don't think.
Okay. I wonder if that was the reference there. Okay. Here's just to kick this off. The headache comes from trying to do the math on figuring out his new birth date. I knew you would appreciate that one. Okay. So here is the. I've tried to think about how I want to do this. I guess I want to start.
Intelligently.
Yes, I'm going to try to do this intelligently. I guess I want to just start with like the basic background and knowledge of like where this come from. Okay. Is that fair? Okay. Yes. So it's originally called the International Fixed Calendar, but that obviously doesn't have.
It doesn't ring.
It doesn't ring, and you also don't know.
It doesn't explain itself.
It doesn't explain itself either. So the idea behind the International Fixed Calendar, it's a calendar reform that was designed by Moses B. Cotsworth that was first presented in 1902. So this is not like something that people just recently came up with. This has been along for over a century.
So to clarify, People have accepted the fact that it's been a bad idea for over a century.
No, people are just stubborn. Okay, so here's
Or that.
so here's like this is one of the reasons that it's kind of like hung around, right? Like, because people come up with stupid ideas all the time, but it doesn't necessarily like stay in the background of society. Okay, the 13-month calendar has stayed in the background of society. The reason is because you base the calendar on the solar calendar, right? So the trip around the sun.
Is that like the Soul Train?
Like SOL?
Oh.
Soul.
Oh, I get it.
Yes, the soul
You're like
train.
the Soul calendar? I'm like, what are we talking?
So the idea of it is, even though you're changing up the calendar, your basic principles of like what the calendar is designed around is the same. So it's not like you're saying, hey, we shouldn't plan the calendar around tripping, like the trip around the sun. We should do it on some other crazy thing that doesn't make sense.
I understand.
Okay. So that's part of the reason why it's gained traction. There's 7 days in a week. If you have 4 weeks in every month, it is 28 days. If you add an extra month, that gets you to 364 days. So you are one shy from your 365 around the sun. So the concept here is that your calendars are perfect. So I even have, like on this old calendar here, you'll see like 1 month bleeds on to another month. Like
Right.
We've all had the calendars where they're not perfectly arranged. Like 1 month will bleed in, there's too many days. I've had calendars before where it's like 6 empty days on the top of it, and then you got to cram like 3 or 4 days together at the bottom.
So this is the calendar beloved by the OCD people.
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
So again, there are, and I'm kind of giving like the benefits because I realize obviously there's not all benefits. The catch to this too is there's also a 0 day.
Because you need that extra day.
Because you need that extra day. So essentially what you do is, like you talked about always having the day after the Super Bowl or whenever it is, essentially the day before the new year starts is called 0 day.
The last day of between December 28th and January 1st is 0 day.
There's a 0 day, which is essentially like a national resetting of the calendar. So that's your 365th day. Some people call it 0 day. Some people call it just leap day. It just depends on how you want to do it. Now, every 4 years, you still have your leap year, okay? So on the 4th year, there are various options that you could do.
Jam one in it.
You can double up 0 day, right? So every 4 years, it's like this, you're doubling it up. And
so you have 0 day and double 0
You have double 0 day. That's literally what it is. And so on the calendar,
Okay.
No, I know.
Look at me. I'm ahead of the game.
You already knew what was happening. The other thing you can do is you could put it at the end of February if you wanted to like maintain like the February leap day.
You could put
experience.
it somewhere in the summer.
You could put it anywhere.
Okay.
Anywhere you want to put that extra 0 day. For most people, though, it makes the most sense to put it right at the end and the beginning of
double 0.
Yes. So now you have perfectly conformed calendars.
Okay.
You had brought up quarterlies. You were very concerned about quarterlies.
Well, in the world, especially in the financial world, you talk about first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, whatever.
Yes.
And now they do it by months. In your way, you're just like they would do it by weeks. And it would be 13. It'd be a month and a week, and a month and a week, and a month. So
yes,
I get it. It just doesn't look as pretty.
That's probably true. So this is the part with quarterlies. Most people don't use quarterlies. Everybody uses months. But really, outside of the business world, no one's using quarterlies.
I would agree. I can't think of anything to disagree with that. So yes.
100% guessing. I would argue that 90% of people do not deal with quarterlies in their lifestyle. Is that the people?
I would agree with that.
Were those the people?
Yes.
Are those the 12-month people texting you and saying, get this guy off the air?
No, this is another guy.
He's going to give it away.
I just got to respond.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
It was brought up about IDs and everything else, right?
Yes.
Who's going to pay for the IDs? How are we doing all this? I think personally, this is a perfect opportunity to move everything. Like, I don't know why we still have a physical license.
Are you going to get a microchip?
I think you go digital. I think you go like everybody, because here's the thing, whether you have like, if people have been pulled over before, like, and they ask for your registrations and license and everything else, like, if you tell them your name, guess what they do?
They type it in.
They type it in and they look it up and it's all right there. Like, they have everything, whether or not you have the physical idea. The point I'm making is,
But what if you give a false name?
You could, but now you're going to get arrested once they find out you gave a false name.
How do they know?
They'll find out.
How will they know?
Because when they type in the false name and your picture comes up on their screen, like, they're going to know.
Oh, I think people can get away with that.
You think so? If I said, so for example, if I said my name was like John James and they go into the police car and they type it in, you think they're not going to be able to figure out pretty quickly that A, there is no John James, and B, I'm not matching up with the name.
Haven't you, and I'm being totally serious with this, haven't you ever seen the studies or the descriptions of, like, when you are trying to differentiate between people of a different nationality,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be black or Asian or whatever, that black people can differentiate between black people much better than white people can differentiate between black people and all those. Like, we don't do it as well as you would think. So you pull up a guy's like, yeah, it was before I got my hair cut. That was, I think that would be challenging.
Interesting.
It would be challenging for the cop to decide on the spot, are you lying to me? Especially it's at night.
But we have physical IDs already, and people scam them constantly. Go to any college town in America, and half the IDs aren't real.
But they've gotten better because they have the holograms on. Like, driver's licenses go to great extent.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would be my fault with it.
Okay.
I get what you're saying.
I don't know how much of an issue. I just don't see how everything's heading that way anyway. Like, do you think we're going to have physical driver's license 10, 20 years from now?
Honestly, I'd never thought of it till this conversation. I always assumed we did. You might be right.
I would.
Unless there's, again, microchip in the arm.
Well,
let me barcode your arm. Beep.
I don't think we'll do that, but I do think, like, 10, 20 years from now, like, I don't think we're going to have physical driver's license.
Isn't it in the movies? Don't they always shoot the people in the neck?
In the neck.
Isn't that where the chip goes?
It's usually in the neck. I've never understood that.
That scares me, right? I don't like that.
What? You don't like needles, period.
And your jugulars, right? Like,
Okay. So my argument to like, if you're talking about like cost effective, like switching over everything else, I think it's the perfect time to move, to move on to the digital.
I mean, you only have to do it once. I get that.
You only have to do it once, but also too, like, there's going to be a time where, like, we are going to change the way we do driver's license. We are going to change the way we do this stuff. When we switch over the calendar, that is the moment to do it. That's the moment to do it. Look at what we just went through. Everybody had to get their real ID. Do you remember that? Just like in the last year or two.
I don't have a real ID.
You probably don't. Then you can't get on a plane. You don't remember that? When the state of Pennsylvania, they came out, everybody had to get their real ID with their driver's license? I thought they dropped that. No, I don't think they did. Pretty sure you had to do it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have one.
See, you don't even know. Your ID's fake right now. You're like throwing out stuff about IDs and yours isn't even valid.
No, my driver's license, I just got a new one.
Yeah. But everyone, there you go. So you got a real ID when you got your new driver's license.
I have a driver's license.
Yes, that's your real ID.
Oh, I thought there was a separate card.
No. There's no separate card. Your driver's license, they refer to it as real ID. So, yes.
Well, yeah, I got one of those.
There you go. So that's what it is. But the point I'm making to you is just in the last year or two, everybody had to get a new license. So this idea of like cost effectiveness and having to switch it all over and everything else, I mean, we did it just for that.
All right, you still haven't sold me.
Okay. But what
the birthday issue is the problem.
Okay. So this is another option that you can do. You can add the 13-month calendar without changing the days of the year, if you really wanted to. So, for example, you would call the days and the months that day, but on the calendar you only keep your 4 rows.
Oh, that would be confusing.
It would be confusing, but this is if your birthday's that important.
That doesn't make it better.
So far, the knock on the 13-month calendar for you is you don't like having to change your birthday.
Correct.
Okay. And you don't like the idea of like everybody having to change their ID. when everybody just changed it for the last 2 years?
Well, the logistics. Yeah, I mean, it just seems
They
not
just did
not
it.
just. Yeah,
The state of Pennsylvania pulled it off in less than 2 years.
Well, I get that, but where's the benefit? Why does it make? Because the system we have right now works just fine.
It works. I don't know if it works just fine. So again, it comes back to the idea of just like conformity, like uniformly, like being able to look and organize things. So for example, some people would hate this, but one of the best parts about it is from a memorization standpoint. If it's the 4th, you know that it's Wednesday. I might have got that wrong. It's Thursday.
I mean,
Sunday,
one of the
Monday,
things you
Tuesday,
talked
Wednesday.
about
Yes.
is that
January 4th is on a Wednesday. February 4th is on a Wednesday.
because
March 4th is on a Wednesday.
because it starts on Sunday.
If we want to. I'm a Monday guy. Like my Google Calendar, you can adjust it
Well,
whether it starts on Sunday or Monday. I'm a Monday starter.
Here's the right away. I'm bringing up this is one of the most serious problems with it of all time. If you are a Monday guy, we will never, ever, 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 ever have another Friday the 13th.
Correct.
If you are a Sunday guy, you have one every month.
Okay.
So once out of every 28 days, all hell breaks loose.
Oh, really?
Do we want that?
No, we'll just start it on Monday.
It's like crossing the streams and dogs and cats living
let's just
together.
start it on. Listen, I'm all for starting.
But then we never have any.
I don't understand why somebody looked at the calendar and said the weekend should be on opposite ends of the calendar.
I don't.
I've never understood.
I've never understood that either. But it's the way we're used to it.
So one of the benefits is that easy memorization. So if somebody says to you like, "Hey, we're meeting up on the 12th," right? And so you would already know what the 12th is without having to get your calendar out. You know the day of the week. And eventually the numbers would associate.
Since your calendar is in your pocket, it is so hard to pull out your calendar.
But you do it.
Correct. So you can, because you type it in anyway.
You were just complaining about, you were typing up on a Word document.
First of all, I never complain.
A word came up, the little red line came under it, and you just said, I'm not going to correct that. And you just kept typing. And then at the end, you were like, crap, I got to go back and correct
I was on this real estate software.
And it was such a hassle.
No. I was just saying this is the first one probably the other. I was on this real estate software and I typed a word wrong. Yeah. And I knew right when I did it, I typed it wrong and the line came up. And I just thought, well, that's close enough. It'll fix it for me because my phone, if you're close enough, it fixes. But this software didn't. It just left the red line, and I actually had to go back and manually fix the word.
Sure.
What a hassle.
Yeah. So this is the other catch with it too. There are global implications as well. So it's called the International Fixed Calendar for a reason.
Okay.
Essentially, it puts everybody on the planet on the same basis. So everybody's Monday falls on the same number of day, the same month.
We're not there right now?
It's not as uniform as you would think.
Oh, I
it's not. It's not like this crazy, chaotic. Like I'm not saying it's like horrendous, but there are issues within like the global calendar and how it works with each other. So this kind of cleans it up and it puts everybody on the same track.
Do we want to be on the same track with everyone else?
Do you want?
If we did, we'd be on the metric system.
Do you want to be a part of the? Why is that so awful?
Because inches and feet work just fine for us.
Okay. What else don't you like about it?
I don't think there's any real problems with the present one.
Okay.
I mean, you talk about memorization. You still don't know the 30 days has September, April, June, and November.
But that's the point.
That's memorizing four freaking. It's a rhyme. But it's a nursery rhyme.
Yes, it's a rhyme, but there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Yes, there is a rhyme. September, April, June, and November. September, November rhyme.
I was the one making the joke, not you. There's no rhyme or reason to that.
I tried to one up your joke because you tried to one up my own.
Yes. I got you.
Splitting.
Thank you. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So that's essentially it. I will say this. I agree with you that it's not like the calendar is atrocious. We are certainly not solving an issue that is like dire. I will 100% admit to that.
Well, thank you. You know that it was originally 10-month calendar. They jammed 2 more in, right?
Yes. October and wasn't that one of them? I thought October was one of them. Okay, what were the 2 then?
July and August.
Okay. I wonder why.
Because when you look, September, Septa is 9,
Yeah.
or Septa is 7, Octa is 8, Nava is 9, and Dessa is 10, just like a decimeter, a decagram.
Sure. And they're all bumped.
And so they were originally the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. So they put July and August in after Julius Caesar, I think.
Okay, that would make sense.
And it was Julius was July and Augustus was August.
Okay, so one of the for the 13th month, we had talked about what do you call it or what do you name it. One of the more ones is having the word soul somehow worked into it.
Oh, so it's not Garrison.
Not well, we can still have it be Garrison.
Okay.
But I'm just that, if we are in charge, we'll call it Garrison.
We should be in charge.
We should be in charge of it. But most people, like in the Cosworth version and in this international fixed version, the extra month is called Sol, S-O-L, basically representing that like we are traveling around the sun.
Now, is Brandon being considered now?
We have with Brandon Venber. Okay, so here, real quick, advantages. Each month has exactly 4 weeks, 28 days. Every day of the month falls on the same weekday, which we already expressed. Every year has exactly 52 weeks divided among 13 months. Okay. Every year has a 4 equal length quarter of 91 days. So that would be 13 weeks or 3¼ months long. So one of the advantages, like this is corny, but one of the things would be after 3 months, you would have 1 week, and that 1 extra week would represent the first quarter.
Correct.
And then you go 3 months, and then you have 2 extra weeks, and that 2 extra weeks represents the second quarter.
Right.
So there's this neat trick you can do where, like, depending on how many extra weeks there are showing, you know which quarter it is. Now, that's not a huge advantage, but it is kind of like a funky thing that, for the OCDers out there, it's a funky thing.
I get it for the OCDers why this would be good. I don't want to say, as varieties, the spice of life. One of the things you talked about is your birthday will always be on the same day of the week. Christmas will always be on the same day of the week.
Correct.
Now, again, we just talked the other day, Thanksgiving always being on Thursday is part of what makes Thanksgiving great.
Okay.
I mean,
it still would be.
No, I get it.
Okay.
But like, my immediate thought is Christmas and New Year's always being on the same day, the 4th of July always being on the same day is not, I like the variety of it.
See, I guess. I think it all depends on your lifestyle and what you're doing. Because I'm somebody who dislikes it when the 4th of July is not on the weekend. However,
is not on the weekend?
Right. I prefer when it's on the weekend. But see, there are people like on your lifestyle, like depending like vacation time and paid time off and all those things, holiday time, like it sucks when it's on the weekend.
Yeah,
like,
they usually get Monday or Friday, depending on. But I get what you're saying.
You get what I mean. So I think it just depends on.
Well, yeah, when the 4th of July lands on a Wednesday, it changed. Like
yes. But see, like I think it would be nice to never have it land on a Wednesday. I guess it just depends on how you look at it,
what you do, what your occupation is, what your life is.
Just a couple of the other advantages, and then I do want to go through the disadvantages quickly. Movable holidays celebrated on certain weekday of the month, such as the U.S. Thanksgiving Day. So you had just hinted at that as well. The calendar is the same every year. So unlike the Gregorian calendar that we use right now, scheduling for institutions, industry, production cycles, stuff like that is just simpler. Like it just is because it's repetitive. So like when you have these huge business meetings or corporations and they sit down and now they gotta, when are we going to do this next year and we're going to do that next year? Once you have your template, you would literally be able to just plug and fill every year.
No, I get that.
You see what I'm
like
saying?
you would have, I get that. Okay, keep going.
Yep. Statistical comparisons by months are more accurate. So if you're a company and you had this many page views in January and you had this many page views in February, well, it's skewed. February has 28
February has 3 less days.
That is gone. Like a month is a month is a month. And then supporters of the International Fixed Calendar have argued that 13 equal divisions of the year are superior to 12 unequal divisions in terms of monthly cash flow in the economy. So when you talk about people getting their Friday paycheck and everything else, economists have already determined that if people knew that there was always going to be 2 Fridays every month through 13 months, they would spend their money differently than right now. We have a system where you have those two
twice a year.
You get those two. So what happens is it's not awful. However, there's an influx of cash within the monthly economy, and this gets rid of that. Like, you are now able to, as a company, you can project and you are able to better know what the economy is going to do.
I get what you're saying. That one I could buy.
Yes. Okay. Disadvantages. This is one, and you brought up some of them already. While each quarter would be an equal length, 13 is a prime number, placing all activities currently done on a quarterly basis out of alignment with the months,
right?
Which you had already hinted at that. Some Jewish and Christian leaders oppose the calendar, as their tradition of worshiping every seventh day would result in either the day of the week of worship changing from year to year, or 8 days passing when year day or leap day occurs. So, do you see what's happening?
So the 0 day.
The 0 day throws. So if you have a belief system, I think is that the politically correct way to say it?
Listen, even the people that believe that argument is bunk.
Okay, because let's say you decided you were going to do church on Sunday,
you could
then
go.
When 0 day,
there could be 1 week where there's an extra day.
That's for some Jewish and Christian leaders, like, they're opposed to it.
Because
after a year of Sundays,
are being a little too picky.
After a year of Sundays, now you would be on a year of Mondays, and then after that year, you would be on a year of Tuesdays.
I thought that the 0 days just didn't count as anything.
But to them, they count it because they're not using the day of the week. They're just like 7 days from now,
they would adjust to that.
7 days from now, we're coming back.
Because the congregation would adjust to that.
Are you fighting for the 13-month calendar right now?
No.
I think you were just fighting for the 13-month calendar.
I'm being fair. I'm trying to be fair, and this argument is bunk.
I think you were fighting for it. The calendar is inconsistent with ISO 8601 regarding the first weekday of the week, so Sunday.
Of course, ISO 861.
There you go.
I'm a full supporter of that.
Right. Meaning major parts of the world would have to change their first weekday of the week. Remember when I said to you that, like, the calendars.
So you're saying we're going to get the world unified by pissing half of them off.
Correct. Yes.
That's great.
And making it. So this is the next one. You had brought this up. Birthdays, significant anniversaries, other holidays would need to be recalculated. And they would always be on the same day of the week. To me, that is the biggest one. Like, as much as I like to, like, make fun of it and be like, don't be attached to everything else, I totally understand that is by far the biggest flaw in this system.
And I get where people, like, I have a niece who's born on Christmas Day.
Okay.
So every year, like, her birthday's Christmas Day, and if you are born on the 4th of July, as the movie says, whatever. But the other holidays, like, my dad's born on September 6th. So sometimes once every 7 years or whatever, his birthday is on Labor Day.
Okay.
And those floating ones, this year, my mom is November 25th, and this year her birthday is on Thanksgiving.
Okay.
For those people, if it happened every year that your birthday was on Labor Day, Memorial Day, Thanksgiving, some would be great and some would be bad.
Sure.
Like the 4th of July, you're like, hey, but there's already a party on the 4th of July and you get drowned out. Sure. So I think some of those would be, and historically going forward, no one would ever get married on the 4th of July again because it would fall on a Wednesday.
Correct.
But the people.
So you're saying that people there would be a cluster of people sharing anniversaries and dates like that.
It would be, some of them would suck. And it would be the luck of the draw, but some of them would be really unfortunate. If your birthday was always on a Saturday night, great. If your birthday's always on a Monday night,
it'd be rougher. No, I agree. It is by far one of the biggest ones. And then this one isn't really, I don't think this one is as big of a deal now as what it probably was before. But just old records, the data that's been collected, and trying to figure out how to relate that to the new calendar.
Yeah.
Almost like a Y2K kind of aspect to it, where it's like, how do we know? We'll have to redo the data, the software, everything else. Now, today, not a big deal. Like, some programmer will knock that out in an afternoon. Now, back when they were presenting this stuff and that, all this stuff's handwritten, all this stuff's in file, like, even 20 years ago, that would have been a nightmare.
See, and I don't think from as me being a November 2nd birthday, there would be a November 2nd.
Yes.
It would fall at a different time of the year.
Correct.
It would be skewed, but I would keep my birthday as November 2nd because that's what I know. Okay. And I think most people would do that. it's the 29th, 30th, and 31st people that then are almost like they don't have a home until we kill them all off. And then, a couple generations from now, no one will be born on January 30th anymore.
So one of the most recent proposed ideas was a combination of the international fixed calendar and then the total Gregorian calendar. And what they mean by that is you would shift the format to the internationally fixed, but instead of having like January 1, you go to the day 1, day 2, day 3 system. So it's the month of January, it's January 1st, but its day 1 would be listed. So the way you have a 1 up in the upper left-hand corner, you would have a 1 up in the upper right-hand corner. So down the calendar, if it was May 10th, you would have a 10 May, and then in the right hand, it would be like 153. Yep. So that is one way that you would be able to keep track of your birthdays, anniversaries, things like that have shifted, but you are now moving into this formatted, internationally fixed calendar. That is one of the more recent proposals that has been had.
So in a way of making it more simpler, it's been made more complicated.
It's only more complicated, again, if you care about your birthday and your anniversary.
If I had my gavel, I would make my ruling.
This is what
I'm against it.
I would say this. I think a lot of the issues, like to me, the bigger issues, which are totally issues, the birthdays, the holodays, the fixed day falling over and over again, a lot of those though are like emotional issues.
Absolutely.
They're not logical issues.
So when people get angry at this idea, it will be an emotional anger.
It's not a logical
anger.
Correct.
But
an emotional
there will be a lot of people who are emotionally angry at this. And that's not good.
Okay, real quick. Heather says, Jeff, you're going to put the calendar printers out of business. That could be true.
That is true. I never thought of that.
Yeah, that's very true. Vicky, instead of 13 months, can we drop daylight savings time? Yes, yes, and yes. I don't understand why we changed the clocks.
To save money. Isn't it to save money?
For who?
I thought it was just to
I thought it was for the farmers. Back in the day.
I thought it was I thought it was to base the day more with daylight when the sun is actually
up. If someone knows this, please comment. I always thought it had something to do with summertime, long nights, it gave the farmer longer days. And then wintertime, when they weren't out working the fields, it gave them shorter days.
Well, if they didn't roll the clocks back, I mean, it gets in the winter. The sun's only up.
You'd half and half it is what you would do. So you wouldn't just pick one and stay on it. You would just one time we would go 30 minutes and you would just stay.
Oh.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I never thought of that. Okay, I could buy that.
Yeah. Now your summer, instead of those late 8:50, 9 o'clock summer evenings, your summer probably is, 7:45, 8. Like your long summer evenings are probably gone forever.
Well, and what's interesting about that is because if you live here and you've always lived here and you never really think of it, when I've traveled to I've been in Minnesota because my relative had a lake house in Minnesota, and it stays light there until like 9:30.
Okay.
Because it's just where your position in your particular time zone.
Sure.
Because the sun still has to travel.
Yeah.
So even though Cleveland is in the Eastern time zone, it stays lighter way longer in Cleveland than it does in Boston.
Yeah.
Because the sun's going around. So that is always a factor. And the other thing is, if you happen to live somewhere where this time zone was, and you're like, we're Eastern time, I drive a half hour that way, and now we're Central time. And there are people that they're constantly, their clock is off, and you have to keep track of what time zone you're in, as opposed to we drive from here to State College and everything's the same. We drive here to New York and everything's the same.
Right. There's also an internationally fixed time community. And so what the idea there is that the instead of the time shifting, the time zone shifts. If that I did a poor job of explaining that. However, so what it is like 1 o'clock is 1 o'clock.
Whether it's light where you're at or whether it's dark where you're at, the world is on the 1 clock.
Yes. And so, you adjust You adjust your lifestyle given
To where it is.
because what difference does it make if you wake 8 is an arbitrary number. It doesn't matter that.
No, I'm with you. I could buy it. The world would adjust to that quickly, I think.
Yes, because you're just switching numbers.
Correct.
Yeah.
And for our world, it's like when there's a West Coast game, it still starts for us at 10 o'clock. It starts for them at 7 o'clock, but it's the same time.
Right.
And so why don't they just pick a number? Why isn't it 18 o'clock?
Correct. That's
and then everybody knows 18 o'clock.
Yes. So the idea is that if you're across the world and I'll call you at 3, you know what I mean by 3. And you could say I'll be sleeping at 3. Like it doesn't, like it doesn't matter that you're sleeping.
But then we would never get to say I'll call you at 3 o'clock your time.
No, that sounds awful.
I guess you could still say it because it still would be your time. But if I'm here and you're here, wouldn't it be our time?
Say that again?
You missed the reference. There are people that are laughing. Joe is laughing at that.
You don't know that.
If I'm here and you're here, isn't it our time? Is one of the great movie quotes ever.
From?
Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Have the monthly Friday, the 13th, every month fall on the full moon of every month. What fun. What is I wonder how that works out. Because what is the cycle of I'm too stupid to know the cycle of like the moon and the phases.
Dude, you're too stupid to remember 30 days has September, April, June, and November. I'm surprised you can remember anything.
Correct. Is it on a 28-day cycle?
I thought the moons were on a 28-day calendar, but I'm the last person you should ask about that.
I mean, if the moons fall on a 28-day cycle, makes a ton of sense.
Friday the 13th, there could be real zombies.
Real zombies.
Yeah.
Full moon, Friday the 13th, every month. That's one day a month.
One day a month. It is
true.
Pure pandemonium.
Vicky says, Real ID is not just the new driver's license. You have to do additional verification. It costs more. It is not necessary. I'm assuming she meant it is not necessary until May 3rd, 2023.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, though, you can use it as an ID to fly. So, you can actually use it.
When I just did mine, I had to fill out the paperwork, and I think what she just said rings a bell. That they were I think they were full bore going to do it, and then COVID kind of delayed it, is what happened, I think. But I don't know.
Okay. If the 13-month calendar includes a national holiday on the Monday after Super Bowl, you have my support. Can I ask you this? This is an honest question.
No, ask me dishonest questions.
This is a dishonest question. Why do they have to play the Super Bowl on Sunday?
TV rating.
Okay, but you don't. I just don't buy that a Saturday Super Bowl would. In my opinion, they would get better ratings.
You think?
I do, because how many people? If it's a late Super Bowl, how many people go to bed at halftime? How many people that would go to a Super Bowl party don't go to a Super Bowl party? They already have 2 weeks. So it's not like you need the extra day.
It would be 13 days instead of 14 days.
I don't understand, because I'm with you guys. It would be nice if one of our national sports, you got the day off afterwards. That would be fantastic. But I don't think we need to add a holiday. Just have them play on Saturday. I don't get it.
Because Sunday night television historically does better than Saturday night television.
But this is different.
It would be. I don't disagree with that. But award shows are on Sunday nights. Mm-hmm. It is, people have hunkered down. They've done their weekend.
But there's not a part. Well, I should watch how I say this, because some people do throw Grammy parties and Oscar parties and stuff like that. So I shouldn't be crude. However, not the Super Bowl nationally, whether you like football or not, it's
guacamole day. Yes,
it is a
absolutely
thing. And so that's different. It's just different.
It would be. It would be interesting to see how the Super Bowl did on Saturday, as opposed to, but with March Madness,
they do that Monday.
They do it Saturday, Monday, because instead of doing Friday, Sunday, because Friday is the worst TV night. So
that's
I don't know. I don't know.
Brutal. And Heather says in 1916, the German government embraced moving the clocks forward as a means of saving energy. The U.S. started in 1918.
I thought they did it, yes, to fix the day more with sunlight to save it. Now, back to that, because in 1918, nobody was staying up to watch TV.
Okay.
We've gotten so much later. Does it really save energy now?
No,
I don't know.
No.
Somebody does, but you would think, I don't know. You would think if it didn't, they would have got rid of it, because you just say, okay, leap years out, we ain't turning the clocks anymore, and people be like, okay.
Okay.
But I thought that it had to do with energy saving. But obviously, the world has changed a little bit in the last 100 years.
Just a little bit. Hopefully a little bit more with this 13-month calendar.
You haven't.
Any other questions about it before I leave you alone about it forever?
No, I'm gonna have to. What does the judge say? I'm gonna have to retire to my quarters, to my chambers, to ponder this. I feel like Judge Judy right now. By the way, is she the meanest person ever?
Judge Judy?
Yes.
You and I. This is my quick. Can I give a 30-second synopsis?
30 seconds.
I've told you before the longevity of life, and just people do things longer now than they were ever intended to do. And I think Judge Judy is a really good example where, like 20 years ago, like she was just a stern judge, and in 2021, kind of a jerk. And I think there are people that just kind of outrun, like they just go past their runway. You know what I mean? That's my Judge Judy opinion.
I was eating a sub in a local sub shop, and Judge Judy was on the TV. And like 2 minutes in, I was like, this girl is not going to win. Yeah. And I thought she had a good case. And it's not about me knowing the law, because I'm certainly not a lawyer or a judge.
Sure.
But it's just like Judy ain't listening to anything this chick says.
Sure.
She's ruling against her. She's ruling in favor of it was a girl suing her mother, I think.
Okay.
And I was like, she is not a nice person.
Yeah.
But you know what she is? A wealthy person.
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe we're missing the boat. Simon was mean and he's rich. Judge Judy's mean and he's rich.
Who's the one that I've never understood is the kitchen guy, the one cook who just yells at people. I can never remember his name.
I don't know any of the cooking shows, but I know who you mean.
I've seen like 1-2 minute like viral like clips of it, and I'm just like, why? Like he's just a jerk. Like he's not even helpful. Like he's just like
they have to. Don't you think they have to be like backstage? They're all chummies. Like, listen, this is the shtick.
I mean, maybe.
Like, I am going to scream at you.
So. I would feel better if that were the case. I mean, he was going off on this one person the one day, and I'm just like,
Ramsay?
Yes, Gordon Ramsay. And he was going off on this waiter, and I'm thinking to myself, like, listen, the waiter's wrong. I internally know that. But I'm thinking to myself,
but he doesn't have to go to the gallows.
Well, I'm thinking to myself, like, this dude's got to wake up tomorrow morning and like be a functioning member of society, and like you're just destroying him, And that's why I said, like, you and I will come on here, and we've called things out or called people out and stuff like that, but we don't like those people wake up the next morning and they are okay.
I would hope so.
Like the Gordon Ramsay stuff is insane. All right. Thank you guys for watching.
I need to eat. I am one hungry hippo.
Go. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Thank you to all of our sponsors. And be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all of your local news.
Playoff football. Yay.
It is tonight. I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina, and we will see you all tomorrow.
No.
We're going to see you Monday.